The U.S. timeline in terms of getting their munitions ready, is that going to overlap with Israel's needed timeline? And do the U.S. and Israel have the same alignment in terms of their timeline of a strike on Iran?
We're talking about the coming months. Israel is very alert. We're following very, very closely everything that's going on in Iran. And if we'll see that there's something going on that needs Israel to act, we won't wait. Israel will attack if needed, even before the U.S. is ready. We're not going to take any chances when it comes to defending the state of Israel.
What is the timeline? When is the attack on Iran going to actually happen? Let's listen to General Avivi as he takes a deep dive into the fluid situation right now of how Israel is getting ready and how they are synchronizing with America as far as the timeline. Let's listen to General Avivi, and thank you so much for your service.
President Trump has issued a warning to the regime in Iran. They will have a very bad day. We see that the U.S. is sending another carrier to the Middle East. They're ordering more munitions. Is all of this leading to an imminent war with Iran? Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. It's a great pleasure to be joined once again by the founder and chairman of IDSF, Brigadier General Amir Avivi. General, what can you share with us?
War with Iran is definitely imminent. Although formally President Trump said in the meeting with Netanyahu and afterwards that he seeks to reach an agreement. But of course, if he doesn't reach it, there will be grave consequences to this regime. He also said that he thinks that the right thing is to do a change of regime. I can say that from what Prime Minister Netanyahu said after the meeting in several occasions, they focused a lot on Iran, and Israel's position is the following. One, in the agreement, if there is an agreement, all the enriched uranium needs to get out of Iran. This is number one. Number two, completely dismantling their capability to enrich uranium, dismantling all the sites where they dealt with enriching uranium. The third thing is dismantle completely their capability to shoot long-range ballistic missiles, meaning they can have ballistic missiles only to the range of 300 kilometers and not a range that can reach Israel. And last but not least, dismantling completely their proxies. Hezbollah, Houthis, militias in Iraq. And as I mentioned, the fifth thing is really being able to impose this and verify that all of this is happening on the ground. So basically, Israel's position is an agreement needs to be really in a reality where they completely dismantle all their capabilities regionally inside Iran, and only then Israel might, live with the reality that this regime stays. What are the chances of any of this happening? I think close to zero. I don't see even one thing that Israel is demanding that will happen. Actually, don't see them agreeing to, even on the nuclear side, agreeing to take all the rich uranium outside or dismantling the nuclear sites and the centrifuges. So I don't think there is really a chance to achieve an agreement. And the US cannot sustain forever such a massive force in the Middle East. So President Trump is talking about a few weeks, a month at top to reach an agreement. There is no way to reach any agreement in a few weeks, certainly not such a dramatic agreement. So this is why I think we can safely say that eventually there will be a war. I can say, looking at it from the IDF's points of view, I had the chance to speak to the top leadership of the IDF, and overall, the IDF is very, very, very alert, ready. They feel they can cope with any challenge that might come from Iran, and the IDF is also dealing on a daily basis with Hezbollah, degrading them all the time. What we are doing in Lebanon will enhance We are not really doing everything that we can do. Can do much more, but yes, we're operating on an everyday basis and foiling any attempt to rebuild capabilities, especially in South Lebanon, but not only, also in other areas in Lebanon.
Thank you, General. Our viewers send in questions and questions and questions, and we thank them for all of their questions. And if you're watching this, please continue to send in your questions. And General, the top question they keep asking is the timeline. When is this going to happen? And I guess more specifically, the U.S. timeline in terms of getting the fleet ready, getting their munitions ready. Is that going to overlap with Israel's needed timeline? Meaning Israel's worried about a ballistic missile threat on our cities. And do the U.S. and Israel have the same alignment in terms of their timeline of a strike on Iran?
So as long as we don't see the Iranians moving towards deploying their ballistic missiles, and if we don't perceive that they're about to shoot us, Israel will obviously, go along with the American timeline as much as it's needed. I mean, it takes time to bring another carrier, takes time to get organized, and I guess we're talking weeks. I don't know, but not many months, that's for sure. I think that the timeline the president gave is what he thinks that's the time also they need to, in order to organize, train, complete all the preparations. And we're talking about the coming months. Israel is very alert. We're following very, very closely everything that's going on in Iran. And if we'll see that there's something going on that needs Israel to act, we won't wait. Israel will attack if needed, even before the U.S. is ready. We're not going to take any chances when it comes to defending the state of Israel.
And we covered this last time, but again, people keep asking and they want to always get your updated opinion on it. The regional players, Saudi Arabia and others, in terms of a coordinated strike or defense from Iran, Israel still has their support.
I think they are very, very careful with the statements. They are afraid that the Iranians will shoot them. So they're not, saying, yes, we're in favor of America or Israel attacking Iran. They're very careful on what they say. And also, I think that for any Islamist country, even if it's Sunni and not Shia, and even if the regime is not extreme, the idea of having Christian power coming to the Middle East and bringing down a regime, it's not something they like. They would rather see this regime weakened, but not falling in the hands of the U.S. The U.S. brings down the Iranian regime, and they are also, at the end of the day, non-democratic countries. Some of them autocratic. They're thinking to themselves, maybe we are next. Who knows? So they're definitely not showing, excitement about the notion of the Iranian regime falling, although they perceive them as a huge danger and even an existential one. One of the reasons that the U.S. and Israel are at the moment pushing away, the issue of Gaza, giving it more time. You don't want to bring this noise at the moment into the focus on really getting these countries on board with an attack on Iran. And this is why at the moment we're like containing the situation in Gaza, strengthening the defense, surrounding Hamas from all sides, but not yet moving towards renewing the maneuver. This is something that will take time. I can say that the chief of staff visited Gaza Street last week, at the end of last week, and he said it very clearly. The IDF has prepared a decisive attack on Hamas. Hamas must be dismantled and Gaza must be demilitarized. We, the IDF, we are waiting for the cabinet and the government to take decisions, but the message of the IDF, we're ready. Give us the commands once it's relevant. And meanwhile, almost on an everyday basis, the IDF is attacking terrorists. Some of them are still emerging from tunnels in areas controlled by the IDF. Others, you have terrorists that try to cross the yellow line, and each time it happens, it is that the IDF doesn't only target these terrorists that cross, but it also targets high-ranking terrorists, in the areas controlled by Hamas. So Israel targeted quite a few terrorists in the last few weeks, but still it's on a defensive posture, and Hamas is still regrouping and organizing, and we'll have to deal with this probably in a few months after Iran.
And do you think that if there is, in fact, a successful, swift operation in Iran, it will give the IDF more flexibility in Gaza?
Well, you want to first, from an American point of view, you want the Arab countries to be on board and at least, not against the attack on Iran. And if you attack now in Gaza, obviously, this will create international awareness, pressure, and all these accusations we have seen in the last 2 years. And you don't want to bring this now before you attack in Iran because you want unity, you want everybody to be on board. So this is why they're pushing the issue of Gaza to later on. First, bringing down the head of the snake. And of course, this will have a huge impact on all the proxies and also Hamas. Hamas is still funded by Iran, still guided by Iran. And without the Iranian regime, Hamas remains completely isolated. And it will be easier to deal with them.
And in terms of these negotiations with Iran, how worried are you that Iran will continue to string along the U.S., make partial promises, partial deals, and this is gonna continue for months and months and potentially years. And in fact, the U.S. is not going to get a cold no from Iran, and then they're not going to have the willingness to strike.
This is up to the president, as he did last time, to put a red line, a clear timetable, which I see he did. It will be a very big mistake on the part of the US to let Iran do that. It needs to be a very, very clear timetable, very short. Look, it's either they want to do all these things or not, and you cannot let them play around. I mean, obviously, this is also Israel's message and the message that the Prime Minister of Israel conveyed. He said, I'm very skeptical. We know the Iranians are liars. They'll do anything, but to try to appease. But again, they will lie and deceive, and we cannot trust them, and the US cannot trust them. And this regime needs to go. We need to bring down this regime, and there is one opportunity now historically to do so. They are weak. The people of Iran have had enough. They butchered so many people, and I think that the people of Iran deserve a big change and a new regime.
Now, General, a bunch of weeks ago in a briefing, you shared with all of our viewers something I don't think that most people know, that when Iran seeks to destroy Israel, it's not just by this threat of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles, but it's also internally, that Iran has been smuggling and allowing weapons to illegally pass into Israel, arming and the people who potentially could destroy us from within. Are you able to give us an update about whether those drones coming over the border, the illegal smuggling, whether that's been taken care of? Is it still an ongoing issue? And we're concerned that Iran is trying these ways of undermining Israeli society?
I think our sovereignty all over the land of Israel is in a terrible situation. I think the situation is deteriorating. We see the Israeli people, talking about it more and more. We see it in the Negev, in the Galil, in Judea and Samaria. We need to be sovereign in our own country. We need sovereignty.
Thank you so much, General Avivi, and thank you so much for this amazing interview and for the insights from your perspective of what is happening in real time on the ground. As the situation is very fluid and as the world is awaiting to see what is going to happen, we know our president has gone through every diplomatic channels possible, trying to work out a diplomatic solution to this. But it doesn't seem like that there is any interest on the Iranians to come to terms that will be acceptable, not just to the United States of America, but to the West. And what they are asking for is basically to limit their ballistic missiles to, I believe it's 300 miles, and to totally dismantle their nuclear program. Has anyone ever pondered and asked yourself the question, Why does Iran need a nuclear program? They have more oil than anyone. They have enough oil to generate enough energy for generations. And they keep on saying they need nuclear for civilian use. What do you need nuclear for? You have all the oil in the world. Put the oil to work. That will give you all the energy that you need. Obviously, their nuclear ambitions is not about civilian use. It's not about they actually care about their civilians. We know exactly what's happening right now on the ground. We know that in the last month, they have slaughtered, massacred close to 50 or 60,000 of their own people. For the last 47 years, they have subjugated, they have taken 90 million civilians and took away all their religious rights, took away all their human rights. They've been living under the thumb, under the rule of this idealistic jihadist Iranian Muslim that totally is bringing the seventh century Sharia law into the 21st century. 90 million people are suffering today now. When they finally came out to the streets, and this wasn't something that was incentivized from Israel or America, this was organic. They have tried this so many times to try to protest the way they are being treated and the conditions that they are living under. But what's happened now is the world has seen, the Iranians has seen, that the great mighty terrorist, the bully in the playground, the bully in the Middle East, no longer has the power that it thought it had. Could you imagine Israel, who is a small country with just 9 million people, was able to take on a nation that's 10 times its population and 10 times its size in territory, and was able to neutralize their whole air defense system, was able to take out all the senior commanders, and was basically able to do whatever needed to do to make way for America, United States America, to finish the job with coming in with the bombers and doing as much damage as possible to the nuclear production. Israel was able to do that. They brought Iran to their knees. Their economy is collapsing. There is a drought. There's a huge water problem. They are in the weakest as they have been in 47 years. For 47 years, the 90 million Iranians have suffered. For 47 years, the world has suffered through the terrorism that was sponsored from Iran. Have we forgotten what happened in Beirut when the Marine barracks were blown up by Iranians? Iran has been the state sponsored of terrorism more than any other country in the world, totally funding Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and their proxies throughout the world. It is their jihadist, Islamist, radical Islam idealism that's driving them to become and are a death cult, who is seeking to cause as much death, carnage, pain, and suffering to anyone who doesn't believe what they believe in. And that is the war that we are facing. This is not a territorial war. This is not about Israel being in the Middle East, on the land of Israel, the land that was given to them by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is about Israel being a Jewish religion. This is about Judaism. This is about Christianity. This is about anything that's not Islam. And they are running with the idea that if you don't believe what I believe, you deserve to die. You become an infidel. And as long as you're not part of the Arab Caliphate, then you don't deserve to live. And they have cloaked it in the cloak of religion, that they are being religious, they are being zealots by killing innocents, by terrorizing the world, not just in the Middle East, but their proxies throughout the world. How can we forget what happened in Australia when the synagogue was firebombed and the Australian government uncovered the ties to Iran? This is what globalizing intifada is all about. And this is the threat that the world is all about. Now, just recently, we've seen the recordings in the Iranian parliament. They are chanting death to America, death to Israel, death to the big Satan, death to the small Satan. And we have heard it from all the great leaders of our days that we have learned from experience to trust our enemies. When our enemies say death to us, believe that that's what it's going to be. The Judeo-Christian fundamentals of life is all based on the Bible. It's based on the Torah. It's based on God Almighty in heaven, who has taught us that this world is a world of life and for the living. The life is sacred. Every person is sacred. No one has a right to take another person's life under any circumstances. It is a prohibition. It's one of the greatest prohibitions is about murdering another human being. God has taken a soul from heaven, has planted it in an infant, in a child at birth, and has invested that this child should be born and to live a productive life, a meaningful life, and to be a partner in creation, an ambassador for God in making this world a better place. God created us for the living. God created us to be kind, benevolent, compassionate, sympathetic, empathetic with others, and do whatever we can to help each other. Love your fellow as yourself. That is Judaism. That is the Judeo-Christian understanding of what life is all about. The Judeo-Christian alliance has come a long way from the days of the Crusaders and the Inquisitions, which at that time millions of Jews died by the sword. But at some point of history, the Christian world realized that this cannot be godly, this cannot be spiritual, to kill another person who doesn't believe what you believe. And thus, the Christians ceased from systematically torturing or forcing Jews to convert to Christianity. As a matter of fact, that we have seen the greatest alliance between the Jews and the Christians now than ever before. They have rebranded, they have rebooted, and realized that God's lesson is to the living, to love life, to support life, sustain life, and do whatever we can to live. And we can coexist in a world even though we have different theological belief systems. Even though you may believe in a different God that I believe in, that's okay. You are entitled to believe whoever you want to believe. And you can believe that your religion is right and it's right for you, but you don't have the right to impose it on anyone else and to torture other people and to take their lives away because they don't believe what you believe. And that is the challenge of our generation, that we have a religious war once again. We thought in the days of Hanukkah 2,000 years ago, when Assyrian Greeks came to Jerusalem to try to convert Jews to Greek mythology, that was the very first religious war that happened on the land of Israel. Yes, Jews lived in Israel 2,000 years ago. Yes, Jews have been there forever. We're the indigenous people of Israel. We've always been. It's our home. It's our birthplace, and that's where we come from, and that's where we're going to stay until the coming of the Messiah, when the Messiah was set the world straight, as prophesied in Isaiah chapter 53. But realizing that the Judeo-Christian alliance is to embrace each other, respect each other, and understand each other, and appreciate each other, even though we may not be from the same religion. The Muslim world, we know not all Muslims are idealistic, radicalized, and are in a death wish. We know that it's not all of Islam. But even if it's a fraction of a percent, you're talking about hundreds of thousands, not millions. And we need to find a way to have them rebrand and reboot and ask themselves the question, does God in heaven want them to kill for their religion? Is this godly? Is this spiritual? Until then, we must fortify ourselves. Be strong, be bold. protect our religions, and protect the freedoms that we have sacrificed so much over the centuries so that we can be here today, and not let the bully in the playground take advantage of us anymore. Perhaps now is the time to take the bully out. We are ready. The world is ready for change. The 90 million Iranians in Iran who are basically living in a concentration camp, they are pleading with us, and they are ready for change. Our President Donald J. Trump said very clearly, if you begin shooting and killing the innocent civilians on the streets, we're going to come after you. They are counting on that happening so that we can finally get a new regime and bring in a democracy, bring freedom to the people, freedom of being able to practice their own religion, have the human rights restored, and restore the dignity, restore the life, the quality of life. Take the oil that Iran has and invest it in their own people. It belongs to the Iranians. Let the Iranians take the oil and invest it in the civilians' needs, and save the billions of dollars that they're investing in ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and nuclear weapons and drones manufacturing. Take the same money, as the prophet says, turn arms into plowshares, so that the 90 million Iranians can once again live as free people. Let's pray, and we hope that we see that very soon. God bless you. God loves you.